Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Hey everybody, welcome back. I have been gone for a couple weeks now. As some of you may have noticed, it's just been a busy couple of weeks. We did some traveling before I went back to school, back to teaching, and then just getting ready for that, going back to teaching, and then I just finished my first week back in the classroom, so it's just been a busy couple of weeks. So we're gonna get back into it. I'm glad to be back, and I'm glad to have you back. Here at Nourishing Our Home, we talk about everything related to faith, fertility, and family with a little bit of lifestyle thrown in. My name is Alexandria, and we tend to chat pretty much every Tuesday, and a couple other times thrown in as I'm able to put up videos. So today, with school season in full swing, most people are back in school already, I thought it would be fun to address the main reasons that why homeschooling is so important to me. I would go as far as saying that pretty much lifestyle and parenting related, this is one of the things that I feel the most sure about, like pretty much 100% sure about, certain about, is homeschooling for our family. And so I wanted to talk about some of the biggest reasons why that is. But before I get into that, why am I talking about that? We're not doing any school or anything like that right now. My son is only 3.5, but that's one of the reasons, is because he's 3.5. A lot of people are asking me for almost a year now, like, is he in school? When will he be in school? Is he going to preschool? And because I'm teaching at a school, I have a lot of people asking, like, will he be going to the school where I teach at, and things like that. The answer to most of those things is probably not, no, and maybe we'll address all of those things more directly, but that's not what our topic is today. So we're going to jump right into that. I do have notes. I do want to make 2 disclaimers, I guess you could call it, before we jump in. One is that these are in no particular order, just kind of as they came to me. 2 is that I have a blog post written on this topic, and I'll link that in the description if you would rather read it, or you want to kind of save it or read it while you're listening. I don't know. The written list does have a few more things mentioned on it that I'm not really going to go into in this video. So if you want to kind of read even more on this topic, or know even more on this topic, you can read that. I'll have it linked again. All right, so let's jump right into it. The first reason, and I think that this appeals to a lot of people, is that we get to call the shots, for lack of choosing better wording. We get to kind of make the decisions around the schooling, the education, the learning of our child, of our family. And I think that's important to kind of touch on, because I think that education goes much farther than any book work or anything like that, like formal education. Learning, to me, education is a family matter, and also it's a lifestyle. It's not like this time is for learning and this time is not for learning. I think that learning happens just by living, as long as you make that an active effort and an active choice in your life for your family. So yeah, we can decide kind of, obviously, now I want to address this now. Obviously, we have to make sure that we are making choices and decisions that are in line with the laws and legalities of whatever state or whatever place we find ourselves in, because we want to make sure that we're respectful of that, and we want to make sure that we're not going to get into any trouble with our family, with our children, and all of that. So that is important. We do have to pay mind to that. But even the most stringent, I think that's the right word, even the most like strict areas, I feel like we still have more flexibility homeschooling than like sending our children to a school situation. Also, I want to address before I go further, this is why I personally feel so strongly about homeschooling. Do I feel like that's the right way for every single family? No. Obviously, you know, alhamdulillah, I get to work with lots of children from many different families, and I love the opportunity to be able to work with all these children and be such a big part in their lives, in their education. And if homeschooling was right for every family, then, you know, I would, and if I felt so strongly about that, I would not be a teacher, right? So I encourage everyone to think about what your goals are, what your family goals are, what your vision is, what feels important for you, what are your values, and do that. This is not judging you if you choose not to homeschool. It is an encouragement, hopefully, if you are thinking about homeschooling, maybe if you're on the fence or you're just kind of needing encouragement or needing to think positively right in this moment about homeschooling. So anyways, back to the point. We get to call the shots around the education of our family. So we can decide what we teach. We can decide when we'll be doing formal learning. We can decide what methodologies and materials we'll use. All of those kind of things around the education of our child, we get to make a lot of those decisions. Let me cough. Okay, anyways, 2, we are able to keep Islam at the forefront of our education, of our family, of our environment, of our home, and all of it. We get to keep Islam at the forefront. We get to keep that as the main compass guiding our lives. And yes, that is possible for any way you decide to educate your child, but it's a lot easier when you are the one doing the educating. You are the one kind of mostly around your child. You are the one bringing your child to different places, different functions, different environments, and all of that. You get to make sure, and it's also not just about the positive aspect. You also, looking from a negative standpoint, I don't know if that makes sense, but what I'm saying is you also get to protect your child from constantly being in environments where they're constantly bombarded by temptations and just things that we don't believe in and things like that. So that's a big thing. That could even be like number 1 if we were trying to order these things, even though I'm really not. So that's number 2. Number 3 is we are able to help our children learn the necessary skills to be able to make and keep good friends. So it's not just about fitting in wherever they fit in. It's not about trying to please their classmates and be like their classmates and kind of all of those things that kids can get into when they are trying to make friends at school. Also, I feel like school is really not designed for socialization. I know that a lot of times families who homeschool are asked about that aspect and like also worry about it for themselves, like how will we get our children to make friends and be involved in the community and things like that. And I think it's a beautiful thing that that responsibility falls back into the hands of the parents and not in their school environment. I feel like my voice is doing something weird, so if it is, I don't know what's going on. Anyways, so yes, making and keeping good friends. We get to kind of help our children get around peers and get around people of all ages, because I think that it's important for children and all of us really to be around people that aren't just within our own age bracket. seriously, like one of my best friends until I was like 14 and she passed away. She was like 30 something years older than me, and she was an auntie figure, but I also really considered her a friend of mine. And so I think that it's really important to be able to have your children in different environments where they can meet people, like-minded people who also challenge them in good, positive, beneficial ways, and encourage them to build skills that not only can they make good friends, but they can keep good friends. Number 4, we are able to focus on the things that are often left out in school. We see, I see posts often on social media, things that I wish that I learned in school, something like that, and they'll list a couple of things. So all of those things, from faith to life skills and everything kind of in between, we get to focus on those things that kind of usually get left out in most schools, that are really important parts of just being a human being, parts of growing up, parts of being a person with a strong foundation in their faith, all those things like that. We get to focus on the things that are usually left out in school that are important to us and important to our values in our home. Number 5, I think I mentioned this already, but I kind of have it listed as its own point, and I think that it's important enough to list it as its own point, is that learning really does, or it should, or at least it can, I would say, become a shared experience. It becomes a family thing. It's not just the children need to be in school. It's not just the children need to learn this, the children need to learn that. And I think that obviously, there's things that you're going to have to teach your kids that you already know. And I mean, part of you teaching your kids is that you already know those things. But the idea of learning just being something for children and schooling just being for children is something that I don't believe in. So learning should be a shared experience. We should all, in our home, we should all be learning, and that looks like different things, whether you are in a class of some sort, you're reading a new book, you're learning a new skill, trying out something new, doing something new, whatever the case might be. We should all be working on growing as a person, growing our intellect, growing a skill, whatever the case might be. It really does become part of the atmosphere of your home. And I think homeschooling really caters to that. And number 6, we are able to provide our children with a firm foundation to go out into the world. And again, I kind of touched on this, and like all the points kind of lead up to this, but I think again it's important enough to mention it as its own thing. This means foundation as far as their faith, because we kind of get to, I don't think the aim is to really shelter our children necessarily, maybe to a certain extent for a certain period of time, but the aim is not really to shelter our kids, but it's really to build a strong foundation in the early years and kind of provide them opportunity to grow and stretch and develop in such a way that when things come up in their lives, whether that be faith-related hardships just in life, whatever the case might be, they're ready to face that. So we're talking about strong foundation in faith, strong foundation in like their emotional headspace, their mental headspace, strong foundation also in their academics. I think that sometimes I don't know, people kind of you would think that it's not really something that has to be mentioned, but I think that from my experience, it is really something that needs to be mentioned, is that it's for me at least, even though I really do believe in a lot of flexible learning and just learning from life, I do believe that there are certain things within the academic sphere of things that we do have to make sure that our kids learn and have a strong foundation in. That way they can navigate this life, navigate the world around them in a way that is comfortable for them, that they are confident that they are successful in and able to do good by themselves, for themselves, and for the world around them. So that's number 6. And number 7 is, and this is the last one, we are, of course, I think everyone kind of mentions this in their reasons for wanting to homeschool. I am looking forward to the flexibility that homeschooling brings. And I kind of mentioned this in the first point. Flexibility, when I talk about flexibility, I'm also talking about the flexibility of when do we start our day? When do we end our learning? Do we do, if we want to do some subjects one day, some subjects another day, do we want to rely heavily on textbooks one day and do, field trips and hands-on learning the next day? Do we want to only do school 4 days a week? Do we want to take the month of Ramadan off? Are we planning a family trip somewhere or something like that? So it's flexibility in so many different ways: time, materials, methodologies. Again, all of these things, there's a lot more flexibility afforded when you are choosing to homeschool. And I think, again, that kind of goes back to the first point, but it's a little bit different because we're talking about flexibility in time and space and things like that as well, because you can really homeschool from anywhere. You can homeschool in any time, and it really doesn't take that long to do, to do a day's worth of schooling. It really doesn't take but a couple of hours. Anyway, so those are my main reasons for wanting to homeschool. Those are the main reasons that I feel so strongly and passionately about homeschooling. Yes, I do teach in a school. Yes, I do love teaching. That's part of also why I am feeling so excited to homeschool. But yeah, that's all. I would love to hear, what is your number one reason for wanting to homeschool in your family? And are you already starting your homeschooling journey, or is that something that you're looking forward to in a few years? Or where are you at in your homeschooling journey, I guess? Anyways, without further ado, that's it for this week. So stay well and stay nourished. Assalamu alaikum.